Hello, my name is Katie Bullenin, and welcome to my website, Katie's Lab. When you first enter the website, you'll see a welcome message. Welcome to my website. Here I state my goal of my website, which is basically to educate people on the cytoskeleton, which, as I describe here, is part of the cell that's responsible for many things like support, moving around, and even goods like proteins inside the actual cell. I do have this information here on this page, but I think personally that it's important, especially as a scientist, to always make sure you're testing things like in vivo, like in real life. So we have an experiment here on the next page, but you need to go ahead and type your name first. And I have designed this so that if you leave this like here and just try and start the experiment, then it will take you to a page that asks you to enter a name. You can go ahead back home. Also, if you leave this blank, you see it will do the same exact thing. Anything else though will work. So I'm going to go ahead and type my name in here, Katie, and I can go ahead and click Start Experiment. And I have Welcome to my lab, and then whatever name you inputted will be displayed here. I'm going to give you a chamber slide, just like this one in the picture. Both of the will be full of media and cells, but one of them I have treated with an unknown drug that does something to the cells, and that's what you're trying to figure out in this lab. So you go to the microscope and you see this image here. This is actually an image that I took in lab in one of my classes. So you can see we have these cells, they're kind of tiny on the side, and these cells are kind of big. And these treated cells are the ones here, and the untreated cells are the ones on this side. So I'm asking you, okay, now that you've looked at them, what do you think the unknown drugs that I treated the cells with did? So we have the same thing here where you have to actually enter something in. It doesn't work unless you do. So I'm going to type in that I think it affected the cell growth. So then it's going to display your hypothesis up here. So here's my hypothesis, and then just keep this in mind. And that's why I have it up there for you, just because we are going to figure it out here in this next step. It's really hard to determine exactly what is happening to a cell by just looking at the cell as a whole. It's a lot easier to take a look at the individual parts of the cells, and we can do this with something called fluorescent tagging. So we're going to go ahead and stain our nucleus blue and the cytoskeleton green. And I've saved you guys all the trouble of going through all the steps, and I have obtained these images for you. Again, same lab we obtained these from. And you can see here, there's green all the way around all these cells, and the blue is the nucleus, which is the middle of the cell. And you can see here, the green, there's a lot more green, it's a lot bigger. So now that you've seen the fluorescent staining, I ask you specifically, what part of the cell do you think is affected by the drug? And if you've been paying attention to any of the things I was saying on the main page, or what it says up here, where the cytoskeleton is going to be green, you can conclude that it is actually the cytoskeleton that was affected. But again, I am going to show you what happens if, let's say you leave it like that. Let's say you type the wrong thing in. Say that I think it's the cytoplasm. It's still going to take me to this page. It's just like, hey, you haven't identified the correct organelle. Again, make sure you're only writing the name, no punctuation, spaces, symbols, whatever. And then a little hint here, it starts with the letter C, and we've talked about it a lot. So just to prove that the capitalization doesn't matter, I'm going to go ahead and type cytoskeleton. So I spelled that right. And yay, I did it. I've completed the experiment, and I've earned the title of certified biologist. I give you a little thank you, and then some information on the actual drug that was used in the lab, which was a drug that eats away at the cytoskeleton. So it takes normal looking cells and like kind of shrinks their cytoskeleton, degrades it until they ball up and die. It's a little unfortunate, but it just goes to show how important the cytoskeleton is, because if this drug is able to kill your cells, you really don't want it near you. And now here's the coolest part of this whole website, in my opinion, is our wall of certified biologists. So we have the biologist wall of fame, and once more people fill it out, it will have all their names and their hypotheses and a big list at the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you really quick. I'm going to show you my states. So here we have my states. You can see I have these 33 inputs that we had in the in each of the pages. And then biologist is at the end when you get your certified biologist, it takes all three of these states and makes a new instance of a biologist and appends it to the list with these three things. And then at the end, it will display all of the instances of biologists, all of their names and hypotheses on that last page. So again, thank you for looking at my website and joining me here today. And I hope that you check it out.